Panther people, what's going on? Let's talk all things NFL draft. Scott Fitterer, he did it. He freaking did it. I'm going to let you know which picks I loved and which picks I really loved. Panther people, what's going on? Phil Perkins here. I tell you, I'm rocking a jersey. Why? Because I feel like I literally watched 3 Panther wins in a row. Game day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, win. They are 3-0 right now. They are 3-0. Scott Fitterer, 2-0. Say what you want about last year. He is 2-0 in the NFL draft. This dude is the GM's GM. We're going to talk about all the picks that I loved, which basically is almost all of them. It's all of them. And we're going to give our flowers, to Scott Fitterer and maybe a little tulip to Matt Rule. Before we get to that, I want to thank everybody for taking part in the live stream on day 1, night 1 of the NFL draft. It was so much fun. Yeah, it's not Pat McAfee, who had 120,000 people watching at one point, but it was so much fun just to interact with you guys live, get your anxieties, your fears, as the Panthers eventually picked the left tackle of the future and Ikem Ekwonu out of North Carolina State. It was just so much fun. It was also so much fun to give you guys free money, free beer money. Now, I am learning in this experience, okay? I learned you can't DM someone in YouTube. I totally thought I could do that. You can't. So, these 3 people, you won beer money, $25 at Sycamore Brewing. Seeker, you're regular on this channel. Shout out to you. You won $25. Follow me on Twitter at PanthersPost1. Give me your details. I'll send you the money. Bert Martin, Bert with a T, like Ernie and Bert. You won that cash. Brennan Ray, you won it. Brennan, Brennan, Ray. I think you're from Raleigh. Hit me up on Twitter at PanthersPost1, like Killer Cam. Collect your money. Okay, before we start getting to the players themselves, we got to talk about the guy who picks the players, the guy who steers the ship for the front office for the Carolina Panthers. Now, we talked about before how David Tepper might be meddling a little bit too much, maybe a little bit too much weight in the football operations. That does not seem to be the case, even with Matt Rule. I think Matt Rule and David Tepper have taken a step back, and I feel like Scott Fitterer and his gigantic frame and gigantic head have just taken the ship, and he is holding that damn, steering wheel for his ship, and he is doing it himself. He's got his squad, but he is at the front of the boat. He is steering this gosh darn ship, and he is going to steer us towards the promised land. I truly do believe that. Fire in his eyes. Scott Fitterer, here are your flowers. Shout out to you. He was working in an impossible situation, obviously built by himself, with the mistakes of the Sam Darnold situation. And this draft was almost like he realized his mistakes. He is now making the most out of his mistakes, and I think he passed with flying colors. Obviously, luck played a big part into this. The fact that 5 straight defensive players were drafted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the draft, leaving the Panthers with all 3 of the top left tackles in this draft. And for him to pick Ikem Ekwonu right there, that doesn't take a genius to do that. But to then trade up with 0 picks day 2, 0, okay? 32 times 2, 64 picks. At least, just 2 full rounds. No Carolina Panthers alumni, anybody reading a drafted player's name in Las Vegas, nothing. For him to then move up into the 3rd round to pick up a quarterback who some people we're going to talk about viewed as the number 1 quarterback in this draft is nothing short of amazing. Now, as we've learned from John Ellis, from the Charlotte Observer, as well as Joe Person from The Athletic. So what makes Scott Fitterer great is his ability to just, have a short memory. The guy played baseball. He's cool, calm, and collected. You let a home run rip off and you're the pitcher, you just got to move on. You just got to go to the next one and the next one. You can't get down on yourself. And so he is on the phone with the Cleveland Browns trying to work something out with Baker Mayfield, who's making the exact same amount of money as Sam Darnold. The Cleveland Browns weren't willing to pay a chunk of his salary. And then this is where the tulip comes from Matt Rule. Reportedly, he was on the phone with the greatest football coach of all time in Bill Belichick. Wheeling and dealing with Bill Belichick. The guy who doesn't have a soul, according to some people. He was on the phone with our coach who is on the hot seat. He could have fleeced us. He could have, make him look like an idiot out there. Not take him seriously. Like, why am I talking to you? You're going to get fired by week 5. No, Matt Rule was on the phone with Bill Belichick and commanding enough respect that he can keep him on the phone while Scott Fitterer was chatting with the Cleveland Browns. And when that deal fell apart, boom, boom, high five, switch it up, tag team, WWE style. Scott Fitterer on the phone. They make the trade with the Patriots. They move up into the 3rd round to pick up Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, who, according to some draft experts who make 6 figures, 7 figures. I think we need to remember all this, gang. They make this money for a reason, to pick up Matt Corral, who could be the starter long-term for this team. That is some teamwork. That is finesse. That is wizardry. Let's get to the actual players themselves. I already gave them so much love on the live stream, but Ikem Ekwonu out of North Carolina State, the fact that he is now a Carolina Panther, while I know he is a road grader of a run blocker, he is going to get better at pass blocking, but the fact that he is such an athlete, state champion in wrestling. Have you seen his dad? He is shorter than his dad. His dad is an athletic freak as well. I'm sure his mom played dope sports as well, but he is a great athlete. And, Cynthia Freeland from NFL Network says it's not just the quarterbacks, whoever that is, for the Carolina Panthers, who are going to be so happy to have number 79. I think he said he's going to aim to wear 79 for the Panthers. But it's not just going to be the quarterbacks going to be happy that their blind side is going to be protected. It's going to be the running backs, in particular, number 22, Christian McCaffrey, because that guy, as we know, while he's had some freak injuries, the fact that he's going to have a gaping hole on his left side to run right behind and then immediately have a mismatch against a linebacker or a cornerback or a safety to outmaneuver them and do the things that make Christian McCaffrey the best running back in the league, he is going to be ecstatic. And then if you're a Deontay Foreman, who is a power back, that gaping hole, again, a mismatch with a linebacker or a defensive back, you're a big-bodied dude, lay him out. You don't need to handle a defensive lineman anymore. You got Ikem Ekwonu right there, and you got Brady Christensen on the left guard. You got maybe Austin Corbett on the right guard. You got Taylor Moton, and you got either Bradley Bozeman or Pat Elflein as a center position. This offensive line is going to be a running back's dream. I truly do believe that. And then again, my Canadian guy, Chuba Hubbard, also, he's a straight-ahead type of runner. He is a home run hitter. You open those holes on the left side in particular, bang, he can make things happen. Both the Panthers and my Toronto Raptors became established professional teams in the mid-90s, 95, all right? It's taken a long time for the Raptors to then, it took about like 10, 15 years for people to grow up Raptor fans. You know what I mean? Because people grow up watching the Celtics or the Lakers. In the NFL, people grow up watching, as we know, in Charlotte, the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Giants, the Jets, the Steelers, But now you got guys like Ikem, who literally grew up in the shadows of Bank of America Stadium, in the shadows of the Sam Mills statue, watching Cam Newton dab on him in 2015. He was in the stadium in 2015 at the NFC Championship game when they waxed the floor with the Arizona Cardinals. He grew up a Panthers fan. He didn't adopt them. He literally grew up as a fan. And you're going to have more and more players, maybe even skill position players, quarterbacks who grew up idolizing Cam Newton, idolizing Luke Kuechly, idolizing Christian McCaffrey, and they want to play for the Panthers. You can't say that a lot for guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, who always thought about, I want to end my career as a San Francisco 49er because I grew up in the Bay Area. You're going to have guys born in North and South Carolina and abroad. I mean, look at me, I'm in Canada. But you're going to have people growing up wearing Panthers jerseys. And then when they grow up and they become elite athletes and want to play football, play in the NFL, that's the squad they actually want to play for. And so to have a guy who not only is a fan of the Panthers, but is from the area, he's going to give things to the team off the field that guys like Evan Neal, Charles Cross, Trevor Penning, you're just not going to get. He has that innate enthusiasm for this team. And that's something that you can't buy, you can't teach, you can't coach, you can't show them Charlotte and be like, look at this area. Isn't it great? He already knows it's great. And so I think he's going to be a huge, huge part of this team. As I said in the live stream, whenever his career is done, he's going to be the mayor of Charlotte. I'm calling it right now. Corral, the player himself. Chris Sims works with Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Talk, played quarterback at a high level at Texas and in Tampa Bay. Football runs in his veins. His dad, Phil Sims. The guy knows how to evaluate quarterbacks. He played the position, all right? For all those people like, oh, you guys, you scouts, you guys never played the position. He played the position at the highest level, and he has been bang on about his scouting of these quarterback draftees. He's got the receipts. He shows them all the time. Taking a look at past NFL drafts, he said that, Lamar Jackson was the best in that class. And then Josh Allen, when Josh Allen, for a lot of people, including Bills fans, was an absolute reach to them out of Wyoming. He was he was kind of like a Malik Willis, but way larger and probably better player. He says the top quarterbacks before they perform, and he's been bang on. He's batting 100 in this, people. Batting 100? Is that good? Yes, he is batting 100. And so in his latest QB rankings, and I listened to the podcast, it was like a month and a half ago before it was sexy, all right? He said QB1 for him was Matt Corral. And this is during the peak Malik Willis, peak Kenny Pickett hype, if you want to call it that. Matt Corral wasn't doing anything. He wasn't in the combine. If you watched his pro day, he was wearing baggy t-shirt and shorts. He didn't blow it up. If you talk about all the pro days that were happening, Malik Willis was the highest of the hype, and then Kenny Pickett was meh. Sam Howell even had more hype than Matt Corral. Matt Corral had no hype heading into this draft. None. He didn't do the combine because he was hurt. He didn't do his pro day was whatever. And so the fact that he chose Matt Corral says something. It means he actually watched film. It means he actually watched games, and which is more than what I can say. Like I wasn't a Rebels fanatic. You know what I mean? Maybe I am now after this. But the fact that he loved him, the reason why he had him as his QB1 was he said he had the quickest release out of any quarterback he's seen in multiple drafts, not just this one, which is, according to the scouts, a low ceiling draft for quarterbacks and a pretty mid floor. But he said he had the quickest release out of multiple quarterbacks that he's seen in multiple drafts in the past. He's an athlete. He's great at the RPO. And also he played at the highest level of college football. And that was the biggest knock on guys like, Kenny Pickett, even though the ACC is solid, but guys like Malik playing out of Liberty. Matt Corral was a 3-year starter for Ole Miss in the SEC and performed. And so on the field, the guy has the tools, especially in the Ben McAdoo RPO offense. He is a wizard at that. He has gigantic hands, and so he can hide the ball. He can do those kind of like Baker Mayfield type stuff. His maneuverability with his hands, with the football, tricking guys in the field, tricking the secondary. I think he's going to do well with the Ben McAdoo offense. But also off the field, he's getting killed for it. Ian Rappaport talking about his alcoholism, which to me is kind of, if you look at it, number one tailgating spot in the country in Ole Miss. We can have that argument later, but I think he was just a college student. But the fact that he had his mental health problems that he worked on, it shows that he's a leader on the field and off the field. And there's a clip out there before, what would be in the big picture, and he called it like a meaningless bowl game. He still wanted to play. He didn't want to leave his guys. He wouldn't be in this position, which he knew that he was in, to be an NFL draft prospect, at the time, high draft prospect. He wouldn't be there without his teammates. So why ditch them in the bowl game? He's going to play. Ended up hurting himself, probably hurting his draft stock, but he's a team guy. And you see all these guys who don't even play for the Panthers, whether it's Elijah Moore, who plays with the Jets, whether it's DK Metcalf. Guys are praising the pick, praising that their quarterback was drafted into the NFL. You're not getting the same love for Baker Mayfield. So I know a lot of you hitting me up on the DMs saying you're happy Baker Mayfield's just not a Panther and it's Matt Corral. And so on the field, off the field, great pick. Is he going to be a long-term starter? I don't know. He's going to have a shot. That's what they said. Matt Rule said Sam Darnold is the starter right now, but with Matt Corral is going to have every opportunity. I think streaming of summer camp this year, it's going to be through the roof if the Panthers choose to do that, because y'all don't want Sam Darnold. You want Matt Corral. And so I feel like people are going to be keeping a close eye on this. He could be a day one starter, and he's going to get ample opportunity to show that he is the guy. And if he doesn't, next year's draft is pretty nice. They kept next year's first, next year's second. They lost the third, but they can group picks together. Not already burying him. I'm just saying these are the options. It's a business, people. They can still trade up if they have like a mediocre type season. They can still kind of trade up to get a quarterback that they do want. But I have faith that Matt Corral could galvanize the locker room and lead the quarterback room. The guy's an alpha. So I'm going to give him every opportunity to prove himself as a fan. I'm not calling the shots, but I hope he does well. Day 3, the Panthers didn't stop there. I thought that maybe they're going to want to trade down to accumulate more picks because they just didn't have as many as last year. But no, they traded up. It was all about quality over quantity. And so the Panthers trading with the Washington Commanders to get one of the positions that I put out there at the beginning of Day 3 that I needed to see fulfilled, and that is linebacker Brandon Smith out of Penn State, 6'3", 250, an absolute freak show. And let's take a look at some of his measurables. This is from Daniel Jeremiah. Height, weight, speed. That's what the Panthers want. They want big dudes. Big guys beat little guys. Dips under blocks. Good to know. And average instincts. That's where coaching comes in handy. And so I feel that, it's a nice depth piece for Frankie Louvu, Shaq Thompson, and Jeremy Chin if he wants to come down to the box. I feel like also a great special teams player as well. But again, those measurables, you just can't teach that. 6'3.5", 250, 4.52, 40-yard dash. And also linebacker, hello. Let's talk about the hierarchy of Penn State linebackers. You got LeVar Arrington, you got Micah Parsons, you got Brandon Smith, and you got Matt Rule. And in Day 3, you got the round 6, round 7 picks. These are guys that you're going to draft and develop. That's what Scott Fitterer said the Panthers are. They're a draft and develop team. So you're going to get guys with the instincts, the traits, coach them up, And then you got a star, hopefully. You got like a Brian Burns. And so that's where Amari Barno comes in, the defensive end out of Virginia Tech. Again, rangy cat, 6'4", 246 pounds, 4'3", 640. And so he's kind of like, a Brian Burns light. You got like a rangy guy. Obviously not as polished as a Brian Burns, who was picked in the first round, but to have those two guys in the same room together, maybe he can have a type of Yetur Gross-Matos, even though Yetur was picked higher, but a Yetur Gross-Matos type of situation experience where, he plug and plays some places during the game in his first year. In his second and third year, he just has a meteoric rise, and, other teams now starting to take notice. So maybe that's the situation with Amari Barno. And then, of course, it is not a Carolina Panthers draft with Matt Rule at the helm if a Baylor player isn't drafted. Kalen Barnes, cornerback out of Baylor. But again, size, speed, big beats small, 6'3", 6'4", 183 pounds. Sorry, I'm totally lied. He's 5'11 and a half, 183 pounds, but ran, this is the speed part, 4.26? Was it 4.26? 4.23. He's even faster. 40-yard dash. So maybe obviously not a cornerback right away because we got J.C. Horn, we got Dante Jackson, we got Keith Taylor, and so we got C.J. Henderson, who is basically our third-round pick this year. So this guy is definitely going to be, if he makes a team, he's got to shine in special teams. And if you're running 4.2, 3.40s, you better put yourself right there as the gunner position in any of the special team spots. Let me know what you think about this Carolina Panthers draft class. Is it better than last year? Is it one of the best ones you've ever seen? Should Scott Fitterer be the mayor of Charlotte? Kind of like I think Ikem Ekwonu is going to be eventually. Let me know what you think. Also, keep an eye out. Going to be talking to another Panthers YouTuber. Hint, he deadlifts, I think, like 500-600 pounds. We're going to talk about what he thinks about this draft class. And also, put this on your schedule. The NFL schedule comes out May the 12th. We're going to be looking through it. We're going to do some wins and losses. Are the Panthers going to get better?